Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? I've had this thing kind of topic on my mind for a long time now. I'm like, why is it? I guess the order of the world becoming more of a pleasure-seeking way of living in terms of everything. It is the loudest when it comes to the Western world, but even in here, people are also just thinking about pleasure seeking. Like they really care about having everything, living in luxury and such. And I don't agree with that. And maybe someone would say that, oh, it's not for you to say that. And like maybe I just don't realize my what do you call it? Check your privilege bullshit. Which fuck off. I don't believe in that. Yes, I mean by design everything in life is unequal, and that's just how things are, and that's how things should continue to be because having total equality that will take first of all a lot of effort and people will not be happy about it anyway. So and you will literally just damage everything if you really want an example of what equality might be. The universe right now is kind of in a state of chaos mingled with a little bit of an order, but also the universe is kind of slowly turning into just a really cold place all over where like basically nothing can happen. And why? It's because it's kind of like spreading all the energy exactly equally everywhere, which that will end up with the universe being really cold, I believe, and lifeless. It will have nothing in it. Basically, it will just be a massive volume. It wouldn't be vacuum, it wouldn't be just space. It would have things, but things will be so spread out and evenly that just life would not be able to exist, for example, or like planets will not be able to exist because that's just an example, by the way. Because everything is so spread apart, and to form these, you need like inequalities in matter and energy in multiple places. And the reason we have a lot of space is because we also have these small areas which have stars and planets and such. So no, doing that on Earth basically would probably end up making life impossible. So no, we don't want equality actually. Also, I don't think we want liberty. Well, probably not at all. I don't understand the idea of, oh yeah, just do your thing and don't give a shit about what anyone else thinks. The problem is humans have never really existed as an independent creature. They always live in society, and when you fuck with that, which will end up having all sorts of traditions, basically standards, like standards of interacting in between each other, laws. It will evolve into a like big city society, big country. All of that will have like its standards, and cross culturally you will find a lot of similarity in those standards. I'm not gonna talk about them, but you will if you look around. And it seems like we just want to destroy these standards altogether. I'm like, I don't understand why. Like, these are the standards that allowed you to exist up until this point. It brings order, it keeps the, dangerous people out, and it kind of protects you. But now people are kind of trying to destroy that. They don't want traditions, they don't want religions, they don't want anyone to tell them anything, and at the same time, they want a big government to protect them from everything. Which is weird. Why do you want that? I think you actually don't want a big government because then that big government will just control you and tell you what to do. And eventually you will not like it. You will not like what they're gonna tell you. So, big contradiction. Just leave us alone, but we also want to force you to, we want to force you to implement our standards on your standards. And yeah, that doesn't work. We just want to overwrite what exists, which, good luck, but that will not. I don't think that will work for too long. Yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in do your thing and just, don't harm others. Maximize pleasure and, minimize harm, because I mean, to what length can you take that? I believe you can actually take that very far. To the point where like, you might start thinking of how about a case of gang rape, for example. There's a lot of people enjoying that case, and there's only one person being harmed, so technically you have maximized pleasure, and you minimize harm as much as possible. What else do you have examples? You probably can't actually end up, at involving probably children into these acts because, it doesn't matter who's being harmed if the harm is still minimized as much as possible. So, why not? Also, do whatever, which means implies that you will not affect other people, but again, just because of the nature of how our societies exist, and yes, even the most introverted person will have probably a lot of effects on the people around them with every action they do, even if it's private. Like, I don't think like these actions will build up who you are and how you act, and yeah, you will also mess around with that fabric of the society eventually if you don't act according to the standard. So I would always say just follow the tradition, follow the standards. That's what works. It always seemed like it was. After a lot of what I've been looking at, tradition still works way better than the current, I guess, liberal religion that we see right now. I don't know why people are just trying to have everything. It's like people trying to have their cake and eat it too, and you cannot. You just can't. They want to chase the pleasures, but eventually they will not work, and chasing pleasures now is making people basically depressed because they probably had it all and they don't know what to do the next. So there you go. Also that, you don't owe your society anything, which bullshit. You do. I think that anyone that is, I guess, worked any kind of job, let's say, or actually not worked any kind of job, but I think anyone that probably manages any kind of business will understand like how much it takes effort to have the business there, and before you get any benefits from it, if you're the owner, you're probably gonna employ a lot of people and such, and you're gonna have to trust these people to do their job and such correctly, and you're gonna have to pray that, this will work. And imagine doing that and like on a very big level as a society, like an entire society. At some point, everyone will have to be somewhat productive, because everyone owes to the society, and at the same time, they are the beneficiary of it. So, you owe to stick to the tradition of your society because that's the society that raised you up. And there's also the problem of the weird moral implications that, again, this whole maximize pleasure approach takes. Like, what's the basis of it? Why? And there's no reason for it really. Apparently, it is built on that pleasure good. Apparently, always, which I don't believe so. Or it's either built on that, people are equal and such, which again, there's no real reason for it. Like, it doesn't make sense. And that's the thing about morals, they don't make sense. I don't think you can make them, really, unless you know a lot. I don't think we have a single person that knows that much, or ever had one, or we will ever have one. Where do we take our morals from? You have two options. You can either go to you can look into religions, or you can look into traditions of the society and study the effects of what these morals will eventually have on people. It seems like everyone is just busy with the immediate reward of the action, but not given any care about the long-term effects of that action. And again, the long-term of pleasure seeking is basically people end up in places they don't want to be most of the time, if not all of the time. Their head will be very messed up because, it doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. So, why do anything at some point? I'll just look after myself, which at some point will make sense. People will start either cheat, steal, lie. All these actions have a lot of immediate reward, but eventually it will catch up, like the consequences will catch up. But these are the easiest actions to look into. But right now, it seems like the whole moral system is just gone almost, and people don't care about it at all. Actually, I don't think people really do, and that can take us to a dark place. And well, add to that just pleasure seeking and heavily individualistic society, which again, it doesn't really exist. Like, you are ingrained in the society, you cannot run away from it, you cannot actually exist independently. It's impossible you're gonna need some social interaction, and you're gonna need other people to do other stuff for you to be able to do the things that you're doing. So, do your job so that others can do their job, and vice versa. So, you find a lot of that in the traditions being kept in check. You also find that in religion being kept in check, at least in my religion, which is Islam. And where is that going? Like now, I've been in VR chat for a long time, and I just basically saw people get more and more degenerate and more, like, I guess, lustful over the months, and like they just don't stop. And the problem with VR chat, like, there's a good aspect for it. I really like the game because it allows you to talk to a lot of people, and it allows you to look whatever way you want, behave whatever way you want, because you have a lot of anonymity, because it's an internet like based social system. So basically you can go from one place to another. You don't actually have a fixed society around you. And even if you have groups of friends, you don't exactly have a very fixed society around you. And again, you can do whatever you want, look whatever way you want, and do, like, basically spend your time with whoever you want. And, well, the easiest thing to do first is, like, pleasure seek. So right now, there's a lot of people doing all sorts of, like, I guess, sexual favors and such in VR chat. They do it either for money or because they're just bored, and they engage in all sorts of weird societies there, which get more and more degenerate over time. They start delving into lust more. Something's wrong with my voice there. I don't know what it is. But people start, like, engaging in all sorts of, pleasure-seeking, lustful things, mostly sexual in VR chat, because you can get that easily, according to them. Just look whichever avatar that looks pretty good to someone else, and there you go. Mostly a female avatar, because, let's be honest, they get more attention. That works. That works for a while. Then you need to step it up, so you start engaging into more degenerate stuff, and more degenerate stuff, and more degenerate stuff. And eventually that becomes just you. And that is it. That is all that you think of. That's all you do. Eventually that is gonna stop working, and that's the point where, like, it's a burnout thing, and people usually get really depressed around that point. And but they keep engaging in those actions. It becomes their personality, like 24/7. That's all they think of. That's all the way they talk. That is not right. Like, it seems like this is, I would call, like, this period the age of lust, really, because of how, like, media is becoming more lustful, pleasure-seeking and such. People are dressing in a very weird way. They don't act like adults. They don't talk like adults. They don't dress like adults. They're basically stuck in their, I guess, childlike, or actually childish, personality. They doesn't seem like they grow up, and they despise. It seems like people now despise the old values, like old, but the values that are actually holding society together. Family and such, religion, society, tradition. Don't act like a hoe, whether a guy or a girl. Don't always look after yourself. You have to also look after the people around you. Look after your family. Treat people respectfully. Don't be degenerate in public. At least don't be that in public. Like, we still have the aspect of keep things private, but also, even in your private, you still have your rules. But it seems like it's, the age of lust and no rules. And, when there's no rules, everything is possible, which means everything that is good and everything that is bad, and eventually everything that is bad is gonna come out. And I think it's about time for it to be out now. Somewhere within the next 5 years, things are gonna start getting way, way, way worse than they are right now. And I don't know if that's fixable, but let's hope that it is. Who knows? I don't know. I'll try not to think very pessimistically about the world, but that's just how it looks. And people just look after themselves. What can I gain, and not what can I give, really? Because that's just what they think is right, or that's what everyone says that is right, and that is what's trendy, and that's what's popular. So a lot of people go with it, and I was going with it. But eventually, like, I was like, let me try to go back to my religion, and actually made a lot of sense on the long term and even on the short term. And even though these things might seem, oh, they are very controlling, but, you need control to have order, and you can't have society without order at all. And that's why societies in a lot of places now are fragmented as fuck, because there's no order at all. Again, it's the age of lust and no rules. Everything is possible. If you try to imply any rules, let's imply the rules of no rules. Or let's imply the rules of fuck traditions. Let's see where that will take you. But I don't think it will take you in a good place. To a good place, excuse me. It's weird to me. I don't understand it. But people are gonna continue to do it. So all I wanted to talk about today. Have a good one.